Hello there, fellow summoners. Mad Dog HT here. I got another video from Alliance War. This is Node 4. A bunch of preseason fights and all the Season 20 fights. Feel free to skip around. There's links in the description below to skip to certain fights. But this has the Vigorous Assault and the Arc Overload regen. So when they have the regen buff, which they start out with, they are fully unblockable. And here with Green Goblin, this could be somewhat tricky, particularly if he's getting that regen when he has a special one. And I just get out of that. He does have a bunch of the incinerates on him. Got him kind of down. I just kind of waited it out, and torch basically melted him. And on the block on Green Goblin's L1, you can build up some smolder, which is nice. Now here is a Mephisto. This can be kind of tricky as well, depending on who you bring. For this fight, you could use torch, and if you did, I'd recommend use the pre-fight, but it's kind of a waste to use it on such an early fight like this. That's kind of one of the easier fights. So here I have Void. Void's immune to the incinerate and aura damage from Mephisto, and he's got a pretty easy L1 to evade. Don't get smacked in the face like that. And here I'm just gonna try to wait out that regen a little bit. And it doesn't last too long, so it's not like the hardest thing, but sometimes it can get you, catch you off guard. So I got 2 petrifies up already. He's not regenning in that from his souls, and he's just gonna go down really fast here. I'm just gonna let him die with the intimidating presence debuffs, and he goes down. Here we have a Thor Ragnarok. This is kind of an interesting play here. Normally you do a lot of intercepts to get your openings in, so you have to kind of be aware of that with Thor, because he can auto block you, and just gotta be really, really aware of his hit counter and make sure that you don't push him over his 20 charges and potentially lose the power gain. So I just kind of waited that out. That's one of the tactics that I will try to use sometimes, is just to hit into the block to wait out that regen, so you can get some clean parries in, or hard blocks, or whatever it might be to get your ins. And here I got Nova Flame activated. He gets the regen, and that's just sucking it away because of those Nova Flames. He throws a special, I throw mine, get across the counter, 20 hits, and he's down. So yeah, not too bad there. Pretty easy fight. Here we got an Old Man Logan. It's kind of interesting placement. Old Man Logan can get regen buff activated almost like 100% uptime, and so you really have to play this dude fully unblockable, which is fine, because you can hit into his block, kind of do like a hard block, and bait that heavy. It's really easy to find an opening. So I did it again, and here I'm just gonna play it really slow, get his L1s off, which are easy to avoid, and then Void is just going to put on those debuffs and just kind of let him do his thing, and he's gonna just kill himself because of the extra reversal there that I'm gonna get just from his natural abilities, and then the overload. And there he doesn't have the regen up now. It's got it up again, but yeah, I mean, this potentially could be a little bit more tricky. If you do get hit by this dude, like on a special, it's gonna hurt big time, especially if you're not bleed immune. If it's an L2, get those bleeds. But old Man Logan, he goes down. Was played it pretty safe and simple. And then on some of these fights, like this one, I'm gonna boost up some of them more significantly than others, because I usually take this fight plus the Masochism fight plus the Counter Strike Fury fight and the Power Snap fight, and I try to do those all at once, and I'll throw on an attack boost and a health boost and a health and attack boost or whatnot. So here is kind of interesting. The Symbiote, I brought Symbiote Supreme because I think on this war I take a Arcus on the Polka Dot Power. So I figured Symbiote Supreme would be a good option here because he would nullify the regen at the start, and he nullified what it looked like to be the Overload. Not the Overload, his regular regen, but the Overload did not get nullified. Looks like this guy also does have some Mystic's Dispersion, which can be a pain. But once I get to an L3 on Symbiote Supreme, he is just going to wreck this dude. I got those staggers on so he doesn't get the regen. You can see this guy does have some Mystic Dispersion. It's maybe like 3-4 out of 5. But man, after I threw that L3 and had all the blessings on, he just totally melted. There goes that fight. Now we got a Thing. This is an interesting placement. Thing can be a little bit tricky. This guy is not awakened. On this one, I think I'm going to bring in my Torch. And I'm just going to kind of play very safe and hit into the block when possible. Make sure that I do get some Incinerates on him. You see, you can just kind of wait out that first Overload, and then, you know, it's 100 to 100% fight. You're starting it fresh. You just got to wait a few seconds. This one, it looks like it wasn't a Stubborn War, which would have made this more difficult. Yeah, definitely not Stubborn because I dexed out of that. But yeah, this one's not too bad. Make sure you just keep an eye on the rock stacks, which I messed up there. I hit him to the 16th and he went unstoppable. That's unfortunate. And then now I have him at 15 again, so I'm going to hit into his block a lot to push him over to get that next special. And then he's going to get his regen here pretty soon. And you just gotta just be careful about that. So here I push him over. This definitely would have been a much tougher fight if it was on Stubborn. But again, I'm not sure that this is the best placement for a Thing. There's better spots on the map. But it could be annoying. And I tried to do like a charged heavy and I totally went way too early. This is definitely not a clean fight, but I do get him down. I think I'm just going to hit him with an L2 here and kill him. He's stunned, and I get him while he's underneath the stun. So yeah, he's down. How many hits did I take on that one? I didn't see. Took too many, that's for sure. Now here's an interesting. You don't see Thanos too often. And this is a Stubborn fight, so he is going to get those indestructibles. But here, I'm going to bring in Doom. Doom is a really good counter for a lot of these fights because you can put the stagger on and prevent the regen from coming up at all. And on this one, I'm just going to try to control. I think it's try to control the power as much as possible. I think I'm going to wait out the regen. I know a lot of times you can do like a intercept when you enter the fight, which works fine. But sometimes I just will get parried on it because I'm possibly a little bit slow on triggering that hit. And this guy does have suicides on, so with that Stubborn, when you dex out of a special, it is going to prevent the recoil damage, which is fine. I mean, there's worse things that could happen. And yeah, so here I'm just trying to play it nice and easy, and with Doom, because he is also a stubborn defender, he's got the perfect block, with the perfect block chances. So I just found that, like, look, why should I dex it when I can block it, and then he's going to take the recoil damage. So that's just one tip. If you're not doing that with stubborn, wherever possible, try to block the specials, especially when they have suicides on. If your champ can easily do that and not take a ton of damage, just because 5% per special would be really helpful. So that was a pretty clean fight. Doom takes down Thanos. What was that? That was 47 to nothing. Looks like we're having a little connection issue or whatnot to clear this, but we'll move on to the next one. And this next fight, we get another Voodoo. So that first one, he had Mystic Dispersion. This one is only a rank 4. And on this one, I'm gonna bring, I'm gonna bring Doom this time. And again, Doom's just really good because you can get some easy ins with the shock stun, and then putting staggers on to prevent the overload. So I didn't do an intercept on this fight, and I'm just getting like tagged left and right. Not because he's unblockable, just because I'm playing like a scrub and getting hit. But like once that regen's gone, boom, this is the time to just wreck this dude. Put the staggers on. Won't have to worry about that regen coming back up. And yeah, we're gonna, oh, and this is interesting. So I didn't realize this is gonna be interesting coming out of this fight. So I pushed him to L3. He was almost at L3, but I'm in an odd combo, and so I come out of this and it prevented the passive stuns. I was like, oh crap. So this fight keeps getting worse and worse. I got tagged a few times. I get L3. Luckily, Voodoo is only rank 4, and his L3 is not the hardest hitting. I do get that power drain debuff. I can't remember what it's called, but it's gonna heal me back up a little bit because of willpower, which is nice. But yeah, so that's just one thing to be aware of in future attempts. If he's thrown an odd combo special and he gets that on you, you know, your ability accuracy is reduced. So yeah, it can screw you over like that. But luckily, we get through that. Now here is another fight. Looks like I'm gonna put a bunch of boost on, mainly because I'm hitting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fights all at once. I'm gonna see what kind of boost I'm putting on. Mainly just 3 attack, health, and attack. Yeah, so we got a King Groot. Now King Groot, he's gonna have that extra regen from his abilities, which is gonna make him unblockable, but it's not too bad, especially this is the one I'm gonna use Doom. I think this one's pretty clean. I think I can do an intercept. Nope, I don't. I'm just gonna wait this out, I think, and then gonna go in and do your work. So again, like one thing that I find extremely helpful is just hitting into the block, and it just kind of gives you that time for the regen to, at least the overload regen, to fall off. And then here, just Doom's just gonna work over this King Groot, even though he has a regen up pretty much the whole fight. As long as you don't, you know, normally like when I push him to an L2, I block the first part of L2 with his breath, and then dex out the end. Just because that's how I normally handle it. I'm not gonna try to push him to an L2. I'm just throwing my L2s at this dude and it's melting him. Even though I'm not going to L3, it's not that big of a deal. The damage is still good. This guy's throwing his L1, which is easy to get away from. And yeah, so this is going pretty clean. I'm still at a full yellow bar. Putting the backhand slap down on him. And this is going to finish him right here with an L2. And King Groot is down. So far, so good. Again, this fight is not the hardest, but it can be a little bit tricky. Oh yeah, okay, so next up we got a Quake. Now Quake is an interesting placement here. If she was awakened, you know, if you hit into her block, you're going to take a little bit of extra damage, but that damage isn't really too significant. But for this one, I believe I'm going in with just Torch, and I'm going to try to work around that regen. Looks like I got a connection issue. I know with like the recent update, man, it seems like you go almost into any fight and there's a connection issue, which is just really annoying, whether it's in Alliance War, Alliance Quest, Arena, Questing, you name it. Yeah, so here I go in with an Intercept, get a clean opening. I'm going to wait out the rest of that regen. And you know, my Torch is rank 3. A rank 5 5-star or rank 2 6-star will still do great, but there's not a lot of champs that can withstand the damage that Torch can put out. And with the Thing synergy, you start with 2 smolders, so you get a little bit of extra damage on that. And there the overload came up, and I still had some incinerates on it, just melted her. Now here is a fight that was really frustrating. I went in with Warlock against this Killmonger, and I'm boosted up again, mainly because I'm doing a whole bunch of fights all in sequence. But on this one, I had this Warlock, and then on the power snack there was a Havoc, so I put on the tech boosts to help out with mainly this fight and then the Havoc fight. And normally you can just kind of dash back and counter, kind of like you can with Domino, to get some easy openings. Now granted, this is a stubborn defender, and I checked, his reverb is only at, his sig level is only at 21, so his reverb damage is not going to be that significant. And then I try to dash back, and I try to dash back again, and I cannot connect that. He just kept on clipping me. So it did not start well at all. And we land an L2, we get some power back, and I'm going to start just throwing some bleeds on him, and he's going to get some power drains, and then he goes full unblockable right when I thought I could parry him. And I'm like, oh dude, this is just not going good. I intercept him with my L2 while he still had that regen up, because he would have been unblockable. And then here I'm just going to parry bleed this dude to death. He is degenning and power draining because of willpower. And then I hit him with another L2, and boom, dead. Now man, that was a little bit costly. I think I take the next fight with Warlock, and I throw on a regen boost to help get some of that health back, so that I could take on that Havoc without any problems, but kind of a pain in the butt. But here is a Human Torch, a rank 2 Human Torch. Now I debated on like who I should use against this, and I looked at the map, and I ended up going with just Human Torch, and I applied my pre-fight. I thought, you know, just because like this fight would have been super long had I not applied the pre-fight, and that just kind of gets dangerous. Granted, you know, any of his hits or my hits are not going to apply regular incinerate, so there's no extra damage there. And maybe I shouldn't have, but I just felt like it just was going to be a little bit safer to use the pre-fight here, and I was going to try to get it back, because I had a lot of fights that I could still use Torch on and hopefully get some good RNG and get my pre-fight back for a fight later on. But you can see like the smolders on both sides are just building up. But I was thinking, I'll just get to an L3 and then I'll torch him again. But man, he did not last. He melted Torch. So yeah, and then here is the last war of the season. As of right now, we went 9-1, and I'm not sure how this war is going to turn out. Somewhat close, but these guys have full diversity and we don't. That's like a huge mismatch with points there. So we'll have to see if we can make that up. Here we have a Terrax, and Black Widow Clairvoyant is a really, really good option for Terrax. I'm going to do an intercept to start this fight, which is going to move his indestructibles. And he's bleed immune, so I'm going to try to do a parry heavy as much as possible, which is going to build up my clairvoyant charges. It's going to build up my power, and then I can just L2 this dude. And the L2 is going to put on buff immunity, which is going to prevent the regen from coming up from the arc overload. And if you look, boom, that buff immunity takes off the overload permanently, which is super, super nice. So that's not going to come back. Here I'm going to get to 20 charges. I'm going to lay an L3 on this dude, which is going to just wreck this guy. It's not going to kill him, but he's going from what was like 63% to 30 or something. 30%. Let's see how much damage this does. 37k, you know, man, that's just super, super awesome. So now I have death touch up. I'm getting a little bit of heal from those armor breaks that he put on me. Getting tons of power, getting some more clairvoyant charges. I hit him with an L2 thinking that this might kill him, and it doesn't. That's okay. I'm at 100%, and you can see here the parry heavy is really nice with Claire because you create a lot of distance to get away from Terrax. And there, Terrax goes down, and that's it. That's all my wars for this node. Thanks for watching. Comment below if you have any questions, and I'll try to respond. Thanks, guys. See ya.